TAV Airports has been the best performing stock of the BIST 100, which is basically the Turkish version of the S&P 500 so far in 2024, with 144% growth in dollar terms. My first video on the channel was me covering TAV Airports in 2022, almost 2 full years ago. Since that video, TAV is up basically around the same rate, so I was a little early, but I was definitely not wrong. In this video, I will briefly go over the reasons why I believe this is just the beginning for TAV Airports and why it is still my second biggest position currently. So let me briefly explain where TAV Airports stands right now. After losing Atatürk Airport and the 2020 events, the company acquired Almaty Airport in an incredibly good deal that can be described as a once-in-a-lifetime event, and the deal is not like the regular build, operate, transfer deals. TAV basically outright owns Almaty without any concession period. After they acquired the airport, they went through a heavy capex period, which they built a new terminal for international passengers, which is the bread and butter of the airport operators because they make a whole lot more money in international passengers compared to domestic passengers. So they increased the capacity of the airport to 14 million from around 6 million in 2019. Also, Kazakhstan has a lot of tailwinds behind air transportation, and Almaty is the biggest airport in Kazakhstan. So the new terminal opened this year at June 1st, which is the first day of the new quarter, which means that the current results we have gotten this quarter did not include the new terminal from Almaty. Also, TAV is the operator of Antalya Airport as well, which is one of the biggest tourist attraction spots in Turkey and especially for the summer tourism. TAV is also undergoing another heavy capex cycle there that is expected to finish in the first quarter of 2025, which means in the next summer, Antalya Airport's capital expenditure will start paying dividends for TAV as well. Finally, TAV is also the operator of Ankara Airport in Turkey, and Ankara is the capital of Turkey. But I don't expect Ankara to be as important as Almaty and Antalya. However, it is something to keep an eye on. Looking at the traffic results, TAV's passenger number increased by 17% in the first half of the year, but the increase in the international passengers was up 20%, which is the more important side for TAV Airports. And keep in mind that these numbers do not include the new terminal in Almaty Airport, which opened after the first half ended, and Antalya is still in construction. So this is all organic growth. Now let's look at some of the financials for TAV Airports. But before we do that, let me remind you that these numbers are in euros and not Turkish liras. TAV uses euros and they almost have no business with Turkish lira despite operating in Turkey. Even in the Turkish airports, they are almost completely getting paid in euros or dollars. So the revenue grew by 31% in the first half of the year compared to the same time last year. Their EBITDA grew by 47% and the EBITDA margin expanded to almost 30%. And while they had a loss of 7.5 million euros in the first half of the year in 2023, this year they made a profit of 81 million euros in the first half, and the third quarter is where TAV shines. So I am very curious about next quarter results. These are basically the highlights of TAV's first half of the year. But TAV has just too many tailwinds going for them, and I believe TAV's growth will continue. And while of course it can't keep growing 140% in every 6 months, but I believe it still has a lot of room to grow, and I actually released a 40-page deep dive analysis covering TAV Airports on my Patreon. Recently, I also released a coverage of their second quarter where I dive much deeper and explain why I believe they are going to keep growing. Not only that, if you subscribe now, you will also gain access to my reports on RaySash and CCI as well. I will also be releasing an Anadolu Efes deep dive before the August ends, and I have only one tier subscription where you can join and get access to everything while supporting the channel if you like what I do here. I would also greatly appreciate if you like this video and subscribe to my channel as well. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.